Right, we are live. We are live. We are live. Good evening, wherever you may be logging on from. So, I do my usual checks. I'm just checking just to get feedback on whether we are in fact live. All right. So, I'm getting confirmation that we are on. Great. Lovely. So, welcome to this would be part 6, all right? We just over the halfway mark. Hi, Des, good to see you on. We just over the halfway mark. This is session 6 out of the 10-part series on national leadership. All right, so if you have been with us from the start, I want to say welcome back and thank you for continuing to be on and following us and following what we are doing. All right, we hope that you are sharing it and implementing what you are hearing, what you are learning. All right, if this is your first time watching, then welcome and thank you for joining us. As I said before, we are on session 6. All right, 6 weeks we're doing this so far of our 10-part series entitled National Leadership Series, and we are on every Monday from 8 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. All right. And we will be discussing leadership from a national perspective. So, I am a leadership strategist and I deal with leadership generally in the corporate environment. However, leadership is everywhere. And I don't think people realize how much leadership impacts the world around them. All right. We know organizations definitely. However, we have families, we have communities, departments, national, all right, and not just political. We have all those leaders in the whole national hierarchy at in different organizations, people you don't see, you don't know their names. However, they make decisions that impact their countries. All right, so we really want to delve into this leadership topic. So let me introduce myself. All right. And while I'm introducing myself, I always ask persons to put in which country they're logging in from or send me a DM. Let me know. All right. I'm always thankful for the messages that I do get, even via DMs and the persons just, sending their thanks and expressing their gratitude for the content that I shared, and some things made them look at it in a different perspective. So I'm thankful. Given that feedback helps me to determine if the content is helping you or what content you may want to hear more of concerning leadership. And what I would do moving forward, even after this series is over, I would explore different components of our organization and just expose some of the specialist services that we offer and really come in to give advice. I think a lot of persons, they go about their lives meaning to do well, but some things they just are not aware of. All right. So we want to hopefully bring you some information that will be transformative to you. So put in which country you're from. And if it is you're watching the replay, put in hashtag replay. Titi in the house. Titi is always in the house. I appreciate my Titi peeps. All right. So my name is Safia Johnson, as I said before, and I am founder and CEO of Safia Group. And we are a multidisciplinary agency. And what that means that in-house we have a variety of disciplines, and we partner with our clients who are generally organizational leaders and their entities to nail their next level of success. When persons come to us, they can access either one of our service or a combination of our services. Really, we come in there and we become a brain box for our clients, and the areas that we operate within is accounting, human resource, strategic planning, and leadership development. So when we come into your organization, we are coming to partner with you as a leader to help you accomplish the level of success that you are aiming for. And you may know what it is you're trying to achieve, but you may be not able to achieve it with the people that you have, or you may not know how to get your people on board, or you may know exactly what to do, but you just may not have the time. All right. So we really come as an extension of organizational leaders to get the organization to the next level. And I always encourage persons, if it is you are unsure how we might be able to help, certainly schedule an appointment with me. Hey, Perry, schedule an appointment with me. You can go on either one of our websites, safiajohnson.com or safiagroup.com, and schedule an appointment. All right. It's, it's absolutely free, 15 to 20 minutes, and we will be able to share how we might be able to assist you and to get you to that next level, that barrier you're seeking to break. All right. Or if it is, we may not be the best fit, we definitely recommend it to somebody who might be able to assist. All right. So you can get a whole lot of information about us on our websites. I wouldn't spend a lot of time there, safiajohnson.com or safiagroup.com. All right. I'm here to jump into leadership. All right. To share this content with you guys. All right. And I always talk about leadership. And again, I have said this over and over, each one of the 6 sessions. I talk about who are the national leaders. And it's not just the politicians. Yes, they are definitely there. And in Trinidad and Tobago, we know right now we have a lot of campaign going on for our local government elections coming up in August, just under a month away. And when you look around the globe, there are elections happening from so many different perspectives in a whole set of democratic societies across the world. All right. And besides the electoral leadership or electoral politics, we have persons who are in leadership positions in all kinds of entities that impact a citizenry, from the hospitals, you're talking about healthcare, to, let's just say, the Inland Revenue Services, to protective services, social services, you name it. In every organization meant to serve the public, there is a hierarchy of leaders. All right. And while we may not know who the leaders are, we may not know their names, or we may not know their faces, it is important for us to know that the decisions that they make impact our lives. Right? That's us as citizens. And then every leader in the national landscape is also a citizen, and they will also be impacted by services dished out by another agency. So if you find yourself in this arena where you serve the public, then these lives are for you. All right. And I want to encourage you to go and look at the previous lives. We have put all of them on our YouTube page, the last 5 of them. Safia Johnson, if you go to YouTube, you're going to see the channel. And then we have some other videos that I would have done from before on leadership on different aspects. If it is you know anyone who is in leadership in any of these environments, it's important that you send it to them. All right. Because we have a whole lot of mess happening in all different arenas. And today, the topic we're going to share on today will really expose why we have such mess happening and some of the issues that we have happening in our organizations. All right. So I'm going to share again who are the leaders we're talking about from a national level. And I do this each time so that it is, really reinforced in our minds for those who have been following the lives, and for those who are new, this is the first time they hear any life, so that you would be aware. So it's anyone with responsibility to serve the public in some form or fashion, and this is across the board at all levels. All right. So if it is you go into the office in Trinidad and Tobago, we call it the Election and Boundaries Office, but those offices have different names depending on the country. All right. So when it is you do work in different countries, you find they have different names, so really it's the same service they're providing to their public. The supervisor there has a leadership responsibility, the manager there. All right. And then it rolls up into higher and higher levels. All right. So everybody in that hierarchy has a responsibility to serve the public in some form or fashion. Anyone with responsibility for an area, service, or product that is of significant public interest, members of government, all right, and all arms of government, the executive arm, opposition arm, legislative arm, local government. We also have the boards and executives of public services, all right. We don't dealing with electricity, water, all utilities, transport, protective services, and the boards and executives of state agencies or other similar organizations, all right. Any national voices that influence the minds of the public, all right? So we have media and other influencers. It's important that we understand the whole array. And this is important so you would be able to recognize them. And if it is you fall into that group, you will know that you fall into that group. So I'm just going to dive right in. Last week, we shared on people and having the right people, and how having the wrong person can break your leadership or make it harder. And having the right one make it a lot easier and help you to accomplish your goals faster. And I discussed the 3 things that leaders should consider when determining if the people around you are right, or whether the people you have around you right now are good or bad for your leadership, or who you need to find if it is your need to find them. And again, if you miss them, you can go to our YouTube channel or look further down on my page and you're going to get the video from last week. This week, I want to focus on mindset, and I want to focus on methods, all right? Mindset and methods. And mindset, I always describe mindset as, and everybody understands what mindset is, but think about mindset from the standpoint of setting even a clock. You know, you set a clock, you set an alarm, and no matter what is happening all around, when that specific time comes, the alarm goes off. This is how the person's mind is set. This is how they view things. All right. And it is so important to know and understand the mindset behind the people you are bringing into your sphere to be a part of your leadership team or to help you accomplish the vision. All right. Many people, they look at just the qualifications. All right. And we know now, now, and I say we know now, but it's something that has always been around since when I used to lecture at the master's level. Sometimes a student is submitting a paper to me, and you can tell the student didn't write the paper. You can tell the student did not write the paper. Or at the master's level, somebody submitting a paper for correction, and it is fraught with grammatical errors. Fraught. I would not correct a paper like that because the errors are so distracting, right? And if it is we're at a master's level, even though you may be getting a master's in finance or business or one of those areas, you must be able to communicate and communicate effectively. So you would be surprised that having a qualification doesn't necessarily mean that somebody is fit to lead. In fact, I have met persons who have PhDs in leadership, in leadership, right? I want to take off my glasses. In leadership. They have a PhD in leadership, and they are poor leaders. Poor leaders. Because it is a very different thing to know about something and then to implement it and to walk the road and to treat with the different issues and the nuances and the personalities and the stakeholder demands and scarce resources and, public interest. How do you balance all of that? I'm going to be hitting some chords because some persons may, the truth is, if it is a sign up for a leadership position, while I am not one that fully agrees with people delving into your whole business, once you sign up for national service, you also sign up to be accountable to the public. All right? And so being able to communicate the way you view some of those things, the way you deal with stresses, the way you deal with being, being bashed, as it were, which is something that is par for the course when you come into national leadership. It is just the way sometimes that is the way of the public. You're dealing with a mass of people, and the truth is, correct and accurate information doesn't always reach everybody. And with social media, persons just have to hear one thing, somebody makes a comment, and then there's a whole slew of comments without anybody having any clue if even what was reported is accurate. I've experienced that myself. What is the person's mindset around these things? How do people deal with hardships? So what I want to do is I want to discuss and just share some stories, all right? Because we're talking about mindset. And mindset is a very tricky thing. It's invisible, but it's very, very powerful. You don't bring a certificate to say, this is my mindset. You can do that with your qualification. But you don't do that with your mindset. And it's not always very easy to detect somebody's mindset in an interview. And also, the person you may know the person in a particular environment. All right? I always say, everybody knows this saying. No, there's some Trini peeps, my Caribbean peeps, we know this saying. My peeps out in North America, I ain't sure if you all may know this saying, right? You could tell me, right? But see me and come live with me, it's two different things. We know that saying, right? See me and come live with me is two different things. You see me and come work with me is two different things also. Because you may know someone, you may hang out together or lime together. You may go down very, very well. They may even be a friend of the family and all of that. But you still don't know the person's work ethic. You don't know their mindset when it comes to work. You don't know if they have the same philosophy concerning you. And so we have to be so careful about pulling people into our environments based on relationships that are really outside of work. We do not know the person's work ethic. I would even go so far as to say, you can even be in the same organization with someone. Once you do not work with them directly, you do not know what it is to work with them, and you don't know how it is they will work. So we use a lot of things to determine whether this person will be a right fit to be part of our team. And I'm saying that at the very highest levels. So we have political parties going at it now. We have the prime minister with a government that is in office. Then we have the opposition. We have some other political parties. And I'm going to use different examples from time to time. Who they determine as the best people to join their slate, or even to put as a minister or a senator to represent their parties, to represent the interests of the people. It's interesting how people select persons. It is interesting how people select people to go on state enterprise boards. And then we wonder why some of these organizations are not producing. We wonder why some of these organizations are not effective. They're inefficient. Because we were choosing people based on relationship or trying to provide some sort of reward, which is unethical to start off with. And with no thought for whether the person can actually do the job you're putting them there to do. Ouch. And that has become a norm. And not only in Trinidad and Tobago, you see it in the Caribbean, you see it in other, what we call developed countries. You see it. You see it. I have colleagues, clients out in these different spaces, and you hear it. All right. When elections are coming on, if you had the opportunity to sit in that country and to view their media, you're going to see the kinds of mudslinging that occurs. You're going to hear the backroom dealings that occur. And so this is something that is not uncommon to any one country. But the point is, no wonder public services or services to citizens are sometimes so poor or ranked as the most ineffective in our country. Because we are not considering the who. And the who is critical. We talked about the who last week in a little bit more detail. But I'm talking now about the mindset of the who, which is a whole different component. Sometimes persons' experiences, the quality of that experience also makes a big difference. I remember, give all a little story time, right? I remember being in this organization and a new leader joined the organization, and the persons were excited for this new leader to come on board, ready to welcome them, have them get acquainted, move up the learning curve very quickly. And a conversation ensued. It might have been the person might have been there, let's say, about 3 weeks, not very long, about 3 weeks. And a conversation ensued. And what slipped out was, I am not here for all this old talk, I'm here to build my kingdom. I'm not here for all of this old talk. I am here to build my kingdom. Now, when somebody comes into an organization, whether it is to lead an organization as the CEO, MD, GM, that position, president, or whether they're going on the board, or whether they come into head a department, and their mindset is they are here to build their kingdom, because what some people do, they access these positions more to profile themselves, to build up a nice resume, a nice repertoire. But rarely their level of productivity, what they have achieved is almost nothing. All right? And so we have to be so careful as leaders when we pull people around us. Because that person now going into that organization and their mindset is they're there to build their kingdom. You can then tell the kinds of decisions that they are going to make. Once it doesn't benefit them, they're not making that decision. They don't want any part of that decision. And they will only make decisions where there is a direct benefit to them or it augments their own positioning. No thought for the organization, no thought for what is beneficial to the organization, no thought for the shareholders, the stakeholders, and what their demands and what their desires are that you're really there to accomplish. And the truth is, the persons who make this decision, I've seen this happen because I have been in and around public sector for quite a number of years. The decision makers sometimes are hoodwinked because people can talk a good talk. All right? People can talk a good talk. And the thing is, many times it's politicians making these decisions. And politicians can talk a good talk. Right? So sometimes they are also wrapped up in being victim to a good talk. And when the person sits in the seat, it's chaos. It's chaos. Nothing is happening. And you can trace certain organizations in your country, in your whichever country you're from. If you were to trace any particular state entity, and when it was on a high or doing very well, or when it is low and not doing well, when you look at the leader and not so much the qualifications of the leader, the mindset of the leader, it will give you a very good clue as to why the organization is performing the way it is. Some people and I am big on qualifications. I believe in qualifications. I'm not saying no, but qualifications isn't it. Somebody being able to talk a good talk isn't it. You have to get into the person's head. You have to put people on trial and be willing to pull them when they start to foil up. All right? That is nowhere. I'll give you a next example. In an organization, all right? I'm in an organization. I'm a senior executive. Another senior executive end up with a situation in their department. Now, the right thing might have caused a bit of a fallout because nobody, and some people, and I will tell you this, you see, culture is something else. Many people try to avoid rocking the boat. They want to rock the boat. And essentially what the person said is, I know this is my responsibility to stop, but if I stop it, then my salary stops. So if my salary going to stop, I'm going to behave like it doesn't exist. I know a lot of people would have seen that, heard that, and experienced that. So the person may not be involved in quote-unquote wrongdoing, but they cast a blind eye because if it is they don't, the threat to them is loss of their jobs. Persons have their mortgage, people have their car, people have, life to live, family to take care of. So as far as they're concerned, that's an easy decision. However, when we talk about corruption in a country, right? I want to put this out here. When we talk about corruption in a country, it's very easy to look again to the politicians and the political leaders and point fingers at corruption there. But the truth is, those politicians came out of the belly of the country, out of the citizens, the same pool of people. And when you really visit a lot of these public entities, you're going to find people at different levels with that same behavior. They may not necessarily do the wrongdoing, but they cast a blind eye to it. Or you may find that you're supposed to be working for 8 hours, but you really only work for 3. But you're getting paid for 8. And you go and do your own job on the side. All of those things, they have an effect eventually on a country when you're accumulate all of them. Or some people, I might be stepping on some toes when I say that, but that is the truth. So we can't be calling for integrity and ethics in one sense in our leaders. And then when you look inside the levels of the organizations, it's rampant with unethical behavior. It's rampant. We breed that. All right. And leaders within organizations have the power to stop it. But again, as we say in Trinidad, people want to eat our food, so they will not. What is the mindset? What is the mindset? What is the mindset of the leader in your organization? What is the mindset of the leader you are pulling to yourself? All right. I'll give you another example. I do executive recruitment. Well, I say I do, Safia Group, we do executive recruitment, but I'm saying I do because I am particularly assigned to that, right? So we have our HR specialists, and they generally would run recruitment that we do for clients. But if it is we have to do executive recruitment, leadership recruitment, management recruitment, I would be most times heavily involved, more times really on the panel. And I remember doing this interview, a series of interviews for our clients. And we had one person who came in particular, and it was so interesting that in interviewing them, I asked the question again because my background is audit and risk and accounting, and I have all of that business strategy behind my in my experience. So one of the things I always ask, especially at the executive level, is how people deal with unethical situations. Right? And give us an example when it is you had to treat with that in your career, and how did you deal with it? What was the outcome? I'm always interested to hear that. So the person gave the example, a lot of unethical behavior, people stealing from the company, stealing the company's material, accountants signing things that are not accurate. That's another thing. Our accounting, we see all kinds of things in the organization when clients come to us on ethical accountants out there. Accountants signing things that are phantom, taking companies' money from them. All right? And I asked, how did you deal with that? Because to me, there's people stealing material, the accountant signing phantom transactions and money given out to partners and family members and all of that. He said, once they thief from me ain't see nothing. Once they ain't steal from me, I did not see anything. And you have leaders like that. That's a particular mindset. You wouldn't know that that's somebody's mindset just from having a casual conversation with them. Or you may get it if it is you all have a particular type of relationship. But depending on what kind of organization you are dealing with, and depending on the kind of leader or person you need around you to accomplish something in particular, you can't afford to have somebody like that around you. You cannot afford to have somebody like that around you. They are going to make your work hard. They're going to make things difficult for you. And many leaders in our national landscape, they come in bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. And when they meet up on the mammoth problems in the service, the public service, many of them become jaded. Many of them. Many ministers of government, those in opposition, those who seeking out to get into the politics, get into the corridors of power, when they get there and they realize what they're up against. And it's how do we bring that change? Now, I'm saying all this in the context of, I'm going to just put this caveat out here. Because I've been in and around public sector, there are many hardworking public servants. And I don't want us to forget that. Yes, I'm not casting aspersions across the whole public service. There are many public servants who work very, very hard, very long hours, and give human service to their countries. Many of them. Many of them. I think much more than people realize. Many more than people realize. However, there are those who really make it bad in terms of leadership in a national space. All right? And then I'll give you this last example. I remember dealing with a particular executive manager in a state enterprise, and the person was so scared of the public knowing them, the public knowing their name, the media coming to them. They were so scared that they almost wanted to just shrink and just run undercover, under radar. They didn't want to do anything big, any major projects they didn't want to do. They just wanted to keep the status quo for as long as they could, but they liked the salary that they were getting. Largest salary they had gotten in their career up to that point. But they don't want to rock the boat. So he almost behave like a turtle. All right, and major opportunities to advance the organization and advance the services to the citizens. Scared, deathly afraid, deathly afraid, deathly afraid. All right, what this one thing that he has, he wants to just make sure and give it back that same way when it is he leave, whether it's 10 years, 15 years later, that's it. You can't go into national service and not want to interact and give account to who you were set up there to serve. It's part of it. And it is better leaders, organizational leaders, get training for boards and executives in state enterprises to interact with the media, to be able to communicate so that they can advise the public, they can communicate, they can give information, they can be accountable too. They can come and share the results so that the public will be aware of what is happening. All those things are so important and should be required and demanded of anyone who sits in a space serving the public. He was deathly afraid. So for him, I call them maintenance leaders. They just want to maintain the status quo. They don't want to rock the boat too much. They're too scared to fail. They're too scared to succeed. They're too scared to do anything. So they do nothing. They go nowhere. They just keep the thing, just keep a little heartbeat in it. We don't want that. That is not the way to lead. That is not the way to lead. That's a disservice even to you and your own capacity, because fear is crippling. And these are just a few stories, right? But the mindset, all right? And we have a whole program on that, but the mindset of the leader, right? We have a program called the Power Leader Mindset. The mindset of the person you have around you will thank you, or it will help you. When you see an organization taking a dip, meaning the results going down, or the services becoming poor, it is because there was a change in leadership. And the new leader has a different mindset. And I am encouraging persons who select leaders, whether it's electorally, or whether it's by appointment, or whether it's through recruitment, get to know the mindset of who you are bringing in to give that kind of power and access and resources. All right? It is very, very important. There is a reason why things can be so difficult unnecessarily. We have the wrong people doing these things, wrong persons in leadership. And the other thing is, we may even have, and when I say things like this, some people get cagey. All right, some people get cagey. That's fine too. But I believe that leadership is a skill that is learned. Some people believe leaders are made, meaning you're born with it or you ain't born with it. I don't believe that. Leadership is a skill that can be learned. However, changing mindset is incredibly difficult. Not impossible, but incredibly difficult. You don't haphazardly change mindset. It's a very specific, reinforced approach to get mindset to shift. All right? And so if it is you believe that you have somebody or people around you who are excellent, who you believe will make a difference, who can help you go to the next level and accomplish what it is you need to accomplish. And I'm saying this because It is my belief that anyone who is in leadership in a national space, private entity, you could be in a religious environment, NGO, non-profit, it doesn't matter. If you are there, you are there for change. If you are there, you are there to make a difference. If you are there to ensure that things are better than how you found it. The history, the origin of the word leader and leadership is to take someone to a place that they have never been before. And in order to do that, in order to truly be a leader, the mindset of the person, what do they think about themselves? How do they see themselves? Let me tell you this. You see people's trauma, leadership will expose people's trauma. We have a lot of traumatized persons leading, and then they go and they traumatize the people who they lead. We have persons with a lot of deep hurt leading, and then they go and they severely hurt the people they lead. Leadership is not a petty thing. It's not something we should take lightly. You put the wrong leader with a particular mindset, they will crash a whole organization and destroy millions of dollars, destroy lives and families. That is the extent. That is the extent. And when it comes to national service, governments are in place to treat with sometimes the very basic necessities for quality life for its average citizen. And when you have people coming in to treat with that, people who fail when it is a deal with national service, it has a direct impact on the quality of life of the average citizen of our country. As a plain matter. So you cannot afford to go into a position like that and do nothing. Be maintenance. You go to build your kingdom. You come to eat our food. That can't work. And until the leaders who have the opportunity to make these decisions, make a decision more informed, and I get that sometimes people don't know. You can't do what you don't know. We have to choose better leaders, and the leaders who are there who we believe can be fantastic, we have to make greater demands of them. They can do it. We should expect nothing less, because their failure means a failure to satisfy the basic needs in a given country, in basic quality of life for people. That's not something we should take lightly at all. So forgive me if I get a little passionate. I'm passionate about leadership. I'm passionate about people. I'm generally a passionate character to begin with, right? But these are things that we take too lightly. We take too lightly when really we're supposed to allow it to weigh in much heavier in our thoughts, in our processing, in how we consider and evaluate the who. People should not access these positions very, very easily. All right? So, I want to start to land the plane. So, we're talking about the mindset. I didn't even go into methods in any major way, but methods really has to do with the way they do things. All right? The way persons do things. And I'll give you a for example, very simple for example for us to understand. Sometimes somebody may say it's not what you say, but it's how you say it is the issue. That is what methods are. So sometimes it's not what somebody may be doing, but it's how they're doing it. And it's all through the organization. It's how they deal with people. It's how they lead. It's how they get things done. It's the how. The how matters. The how matters. The how will make the difference between getting staff to agree and getting their buy-in and having a strike action. The how. The how you respond to the union, how you engage them, what is your process and your method. All of these how matters. These how matters are very, very critical as well. And people brush off these how matters, but in leadership, how matters are just as critical as the mindset and the people. The how someone speaks to someone. I had a situation in an organization where the CEO that CEO's method was separation. The elite from the non-elite, whatever that means, right? Whatever that means. So you have they preferred the us and them between management and staff. That ain't good at all, right? But that was their preference. And so that CEO will not even say good morning, good afternoon to persons who were not of that executive and higher level rank in the organization. But here's the funny thing. You see the security personnel and the janitorial staff? We don't realize how critical they are to our success. Everybody in the chain is critical. And anybody who's strong in leadership will know that. That, you see, because sometimes people know to get something done, but then they kill everybody in the process, right? How critical these people are to protecting you, or how much damage they can do, because they're in your offices cleaning and securing when nobody else there. They're the ones that see you in your most vulnerable state as an organization, and they can do you much harm if they choose to. And sometimes just the how that created an issue in the organization, a significant issue, just because the person's how their approach to dealing with people is there's a gulf. Don't even have lunch with. That was the advice to the managers. Don't even have lunch with staff. Stay. Create the separation. That was their method. Do you know what is the method of a CEO you put into the head of state agency? And you know, do we understand some of these background things that the people who working with that person have to experience day in and day out? When it is, you see, there's major exodus happening in an organization. People don't leave organizations, you know, people leave people. People leave leaders. Let me be more specific. And that is, there's evidence for that. I'm not just being miserable, right? There's evidence for that. Did I research? I think I always forget if I think it's about 68. It's well over 50% of the people. They left because of their immediate supervisor. People leave leaders. So when you see a major attrition, major exodus occurring in an organization, don't worry what the leader telling you, giving you, you know, and I see it. So you have a state agency, the head of the state agency, and they have to give, you know, report to the minister and the permanent secretary, and you know, they're giving all this cock and bull story. No, it's poor leadership why people leaving. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. And it may not be that the people who they don't have the capacity to be a strong leader, you know, they're doing the wrong things. Or they may not know that what they're doing is creating these issues. All right? So, as I wind up, just to reiterate, when selecting leaders, especially in the national landscape, because of the consequence of choosing poorly, it is important that we understand people's mindsets. And this is something you can take in. And when I teach on leadership, I always tell people it's transferable into private sector, it's transferable into your home. And these are principles I use even with my own, I have a teenage son. Because it has to do with influence, it has to do with leading and guiding people. You know, perhaps I would do a session on parenting, because parents ought to be leaders more. You know, if parents understood that they were leaders more than just and only parents, it would change the way they parent. So it is so important that we understand the mindset of the person, and that is not very easily. You don't know that very easily. You have to deliberately put strategies in place to uncover that, and don't make a decision until you are certain about the mindset. Not just that you know the mindset, but that the mindset that you have uncovered is exactly the mindset you need for where you're going to put that person. All right? And their methods. You have to know their approach. You have to know how they lead, how they go about accomplishing things. If you don't know, you may be saddling up a company with a problem. All right? So, guys, any questions, certainly ask me. I will pass back through and pick up any questions that there may be an answer. send me a DM if it is you have a question on anything that I've shared or you want more information on it. And as always, if it is you even want to schedule a session with me, go to our website, safiagroup.com or safiajohnson.com, and you're going to see the link there to schedule an appointment with me to do a free consultation. But when it comes to leadership, we have to be much more vigilant, much more demanding than what is happening now. People get into leadership positions too easily, and then they take it for granted because they didn't have to pass any bar to get there in any significant way. So then they make light of their responsibility. So the ones who can change it, it's time to change it. All right. And certainly as a citizenry, you can change it. One of my very first videos, I talked about the responsibility of the citizenry who may not be in leadership. And also those, even though you may be a leader in one sense in the national landscape, you are a person receiving on the other end from a different perspective. So you would still be part of the citizenry. All right. So guys, have a great rest of the night. Thank you so much for joining on. Give any thumbs up and heart if you enjoyed this session. Give me a comments. Let me know. Give me some feedback. All right. You could DM me. You could put it on the live again. I would pass back through and pick up any comments and any questions you may have. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. I know you could be doing anything else. So thank you so much for spending the time with me. All right. Have a great night, guys. Bye.